special, wonderful guest who has taken time to be with us. He is none other than architect Senthil Kumar Das. He is the director of Play Architecture, Bangalore. He is an alumnus of NITT, my college. Internship with B.V. Doshi at Ahmedabad. He had an encounter with Auroville's architect Dominic Duke, and that led to a nearly 5 years of collaboration with him. Now he also enjoys researching practically and theoretically with all the isms of architecture. I'm sure very soon you will learn about that, but let us hear it from him. Welcome, Senthil Kumar sir. Can we hear a few words for you of ideas about architecture and what you would like to share with the young aspirants?
Definitely, yes. Yeah. Am I audible?
Very much.
Yes. A very good evening to all of you. My pleasure talking to really young guns who will be future architects. So I think probably my role today is to talk about all the possibilities which this beautiful profession can actually throw it open to you. So I've been practicing for the last 20 years and 15 years on my own in the banner called Play Architecture. So I'll probably be sharing my very early day influences, like probably starting from the age of 12, 13, when I was like almost, and then when I reached you guys' age, I'm guessing you're all like 17, 18 now. So I would actually start from this period and then speak about the travel we have gone through, the struggles, the most beautiful part of the profession, the challenges which we take up, and how it kind of makes you as a personality end of the day. I think that's more important. So I would just start by, can I just start sharing the screen, please? So we'd also be talking about how, as a human being, as art, your philosophy develops over a period of time. How you start understanding your work, your content keeps increasing as years pass by. So I think I'll also give you an introduction about what we want to do as a practice. So can I start sharing the screen, please?
Yes, please.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, we can see.
Yes, just a second.
Small announcement. Kindly all of you mute yourself, please.
So I would call this in search because I think I've been searching for the last 20 years, to be very frank. And this is a profession where people, even in their 80s, 90s, or even I come upon to hear that people in their hundreds are still practicing in the age of 100, still trying to do their best projects. So I think that's the kind of motivation you really need to have in a profession like this. And to give a brief introduction, I'm sure ma'am has already given you a short introduction. We are an all-inclusive studio, which means we are open to multiple ideas as an architect, as an artist. We do not limit ourselves into this is right and this is wrong. We do not want to do that. We are open to ideas, and we are evolving from something what is called as very strong roots of modernism. When you say modernism, it's like you have classical music. You would have heard about Carnatic music. You would have heard about Western classical. You would have heard about so many different forms of music. You would have heard about likewise in architecture you have these different isms. So I would start something like after like the Second World War, where this modernism became very, very important and very strong movement in architecture as well as in art. You had Cubists coming in. You had different isms coming in, which kind of drives the vision of the entire artist for a period of time. So I started working with a modernist architect in Auroville, a very beautiful place in near Pondicherry, where a lot of people were doing experiments with many different forms of life actually. And I was very keen in architecture, so I was just doing my my work and experience there. And then we started testing. We didn't stop there. See, I think that's very important that you keep kind of testing and understanding various aspects of a profession, whatever be the profession. So you just have to keep traveling over a period of time. So what I actually did was there was something called minimalism, which my mentor was actually moving from modernism towards minimalism. So from minimalism, I think I started kind of deviating towards something what is called as deconstructivism, which was testing the extremes of building thinking or even design thinking. So it has a lot of literature associated with it. And from there, we took a step to move towards parametricism, which is probably using the latest trends in computers, not just trends, but it is also about computational, where you can bring in your like whatever you have learned in school. See, in architecture, when we were studying, I think we always felt that our mathematics, physics, and understanding of biology was never put into use. So, but with the entry of parametricism into architectural thinking, it opened a door for a lot of collaborations to happen. I think that's probably the most beautiful thing. And in the very recent times, I've been looking at critical regionalism, which is also like looking at, like I assume most of you are Tamil speaking.
Sir, Sendil sir, they are from across the world now.
Okay.
Yeah,
so I'll stick to English then.
Yes,
I'll stick to English. So what could happen is you look at your regional idea. Say if you're down south, you look at your strength, you look at your traditional construction techniques, you look at what actually your flavor is. Even this can be applied to food. It can be applied to any art form, I would say. And then looking at it very critically, taking the positives, removing what you think is not required, and then moving away from it. And my very, very recent interest is how my learning from parametricism can actually contribute to regionalism, critical regionalism. I think that's something which is really important, because a lot of these ideas coming from the traditions can take a beautiful new form by means of computational technologies and computers, and how these can be actually applied in day-to-day practice. I think that's what I would call, and would look at our work as applied theory in the process of space and placemaking. I think space making and placemaking is architecture actually. And then I'll just quickly talk about my early day inspiration. See, when I was 13, my father was showing me Enter the Dragon, acted by Bruce Lee. I think he just blew my mind away. I think last 25 years or 30 years, I always keep going back to Bruce Lee whenever you feel you are stuck up in some aspects in life, be it life or be it your work or be it your personal life, whatever be it. So I really admired him for his philosophies. I really admired him for his precision, and you can actually read out what is there. Empty your mind, be formless, shapeless, which is a very important lesson in creative thinking and to progress creatively in life, actually. And then he speaks about precision. He says, I fear not the man who has practiced 10,000 kick once, but I fear the man who has practiced one kick 10,000 times. So it speaks about how meticulous one should be while practicing a certain art form. I think it's a great learning. In my younger days, I really looked at him as a mentor whom I have never met, but somebody who has gone inside me for the last 25, 30 years, and who would come out when you feel you are creatively lagging. So moving from there, I've also been watching his episode on Netflix. It's a 50 episode. Last 3 days, I've finished probably 25 or 28 of these episodes, just revisiting and trying to understand what he has been trying to communicate as an artist, as a martial artist, who also taught us that even if you come from any part of the world, even let it be a small town, let it be a village, you can actually reach the epitome of a certain field. Likewise, I would say Master Ilayaraja, who comes from Tamil Nadu. I think these are all people who are showing us that it is not important where you are or where you are brought up, but the moment you are kind of passionate about what you're doing, and then you constantly keep exploring about what you're doing, you will kind of eventually grow towards a bigger level in life. So from there, I would move on to next Professor B.V. Doshi, whom I actually had. He won the biggest architectural award called the Pritzker, which is the world's biggest architectural award in 2018. So this was written in my sketchbook in 1997 when I was doing my internship, which is like 22 years before. So he is 94 now, and he still is somebody who's motivating students and keep constantly talking to people. So age has not stopped him from being alive. And so that's what he wrote. He said, constant observation keeps your senses alive, and measurements and compositions in proportions, functions, light, space, and structures, form begins to emerge. He said, architecture is understood as a part of form making exercise. He says form will finally emerge when you go through all these prospects. He said success inevitably follows, good luck is what he said. Success follows or not, I think that is, we keep that secondary. If it happens, great. But I think our intention and our motivation to lead a very happy life and a life which is so meaningful and purposeful is more important than success. And then from there, I moved on to a place called Auroville. I am sure you will all be visiting once you get into architecture. I'm sure you will be learning about Auroville, trying to understand Auroville, a place where people from different parts of the world actually came in to kind of live together in harmony without any caste, creed, or country. There is no boundary. People did not want to stop with a boundary. They just wanted to move out of the boundary and lead a life there. Where I met my mentor, an architect, a French-Canadian architect by name architect Dominique Dubé, who just held my hands for the next 5 years and then took me through the early phase of my creative process and taught me the basics, which is really important. If you look at martial arts also, you will see the masters talking about learning the basics really well. And then once you have this in your control, once your creative channels are opened up, there are unlimited possibilities. So what I will do is I'll quickly run through. There are lots of slides, so I'll very quickly run through, just get a visual feel of what our practice has been. And I will stop in between to quickly explain you what we have been doing and what we have been thinking about. So this is a movie, a clip, which is really apt in respect to our practice. So if in case you cannot hear me, kindly let me know. I'll just do a very important lesson in free thinking, creative process. Please.
Can't hear the volume, sir.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Now, yes.
Yes.
They'd only try to realize the truth.
What truth?
There is no spoon. Then you'll see that it is not the spoon that bends, it is only yourself.
It quickly, if I have to talk about it, do not try and bend the spoon. That's impossible. Instead, only try to realize the truth. So the hero asks, what truth? There is no spoon, which means it's not the spoon that bends, it's only yourself. It's your mind which allows you to bend and see the possibilities in life. So 3 things we do as a practice, like we do a practice, which is the major component of my work, followed by academics. I've been teaching for the last 15 years. And then for the last 5 years, we've been doing rigorous research. So I think these 3 things can actually be taking precedence depending on the situation. Practice might be taking the lead, academics might be taking the lead, or research might be taking the lead. Even you as students, once you join architecture, once you complete architecture, you have the possibility of actually going through all these processes, which will enrich your thought process continuously. And that's something which is our tool. I would say this is our tool that kind of affects our practice. I'm sure a lot of people would have spoken to you about sketches, how to do sketches. I would like to say that we all started there. And then personally, I started having a liking for digital thinking. This is as early as in 2000, 2001, when we started, when even the computers were not very popular in India. So I was very personally inclined towards this digital thinking, which started occupying my day and night. So it used to happen at 2:33 in the night. So you start kind of testing ideas. And the third thing, what you see here are these physical models, which is of two types actually. One is you study an idea using a model, and then you actually present a model, which means if you have to communicate what you are thinking, you show these models to people, for your clients or to your faculty when you are studying, for them to understand what you are thinking three-dimensionally. So all these three things are important to your practice even today. For 20 years down the line, I still keep doing that. So that's a very interesting question in my mind. A child actually picked up my sketchbook and she started drawing architecture. Like she started seeing all my sketches, and then she started drawing her interpretation. I was always wondering where this perception, preconceived idea of how a house has to be came from. And this is how the first project happened. It is very important. I was looking at, Professor Doshi spoke about constant observation, keeping your senses alive, and keeping your mind open is what the child in the movie slide showed you. So this was a hanging, broken lampshade in one of my clients' place, and then it became a meditation space in another client's space. So you always keep your mind open towards ideas, and then you keep looking for clues in life. And then it turns out to be an interesting house with a small meditation room. The very first project, very insignificant in terms of scale, but helped me very strongly philosophically and to kind of take my work forward. And these are projects which kind of where I started testing different materials. This is immediately after frustration. There is no project in the beginning of your career, and you realize that frustration can actually be a very positive symptom. And then you use this frustration to create ideas. You break a model, and then the broken model becomes another idea, and it becomes a project elsewhere. So I think it's a constant rigorous process. And parallelly, we were actually doing two houses in the same site. So one which was more sculptural, and the other one was purely determined by combining wasted steel and second-hand wood or whatever. So you work with a lot of material understanding. So and then this is one project where the leftover of a model started folding very beautifully. So these are things you might slowly understand. Maybe it's too early for you to dig deeper, but I'm just sharing you the process. So every material has a property, and then when you allow it to be on its own, it begins to kind of shape it by itself, which again became a larger project. So from a 500 square feet small farmhouse, you jump into a scale which is 1 lakh square foot. People start trusting you because you are able to do some justice to a very small project. So this units, the Benz has taken it on lease, and it's one of the very successful projects in Bangalore. So a lot of material experimentation went into this. And this is very technical, but I would always show this to people, saying that how you kind of connect lateral thinking when you see an image like Tom and Jerry, and then how do you look at your structure? And then it goes through a very serious, rigorous process of thinking. So it also gets appropriated. It's a very serious business. So you are talking about lives of people who are going to live in your building. So you have to be playful in your initial ideas, but when it gets manifested, you have to really get serious about it. So this is how a project actually transforms in reality. And then this is a car showroom where we again play with a lot of materials. A lot of work was done on site for almost 8 months. It's a high-end car showroom where we work with Indian marble, local material, and then we transform the space into a dramatically new experience. Your professor, Mr. Sarunaraja, was one of the main, he did the photo shoots for me. So I'm really thankful to him. So I mean, he took some amazing pictures. And slowly the scale starts increasing. We are bound by rules, so we don't limit ourselves to kind of stop our thinking. However bigger the scale happens, you kind of, when I went to Bangalore first, I saw these residential apartments, very boring, stacked one above the other. So my first quest was to how do I break this monotonous? How do I make something interesting out of? Because everybody keeps speaking about every square centimeter. You have to be very practical. You have to do buildings practically, not be flamboyant like how you were before. But you again show that it is possible when you apply your creative efforts. You can do something very different. So this is another project in Coorg where we started looking at how you can be very sensitive to a site and be eco-friendly. So it's one of those resort projects where we had to encounter a lot of snakes in sight. Panther apparently appeared on site. Unfortunately, we were not there, and we had to work a lot understanding nature here. So you have to beat heavy rains and work through the rains and walk through the leeches. The leeches keeps biting you. So it's a very rigorous process. And this is one project I'm sure most of you might know if you are from Tamil Nadu, but if you are from other parts of the country and other parts of the world, it's called SAYA, called the Nadigar Sangam, very popular in Tamil Nadu, the Movie Association of Tamil Nadu. We won this competition where we added the layer of culture, whatever you study in history, whatever you are going to study in future about history and construction and the cultural aspects of building making. So we kind of tried bringing in all these philosophies in this building. And I'll quickly show you a video.
விபுல்லா சாலை 62 ஆண்டுகளுக்கு முன்பு இங்குதான் சரித்திரத்திற்கான விதைகள் தூவப்பட்டன. பல பொன்னிற பூக்கள் பூத்தன, காலத்தில் கரைந்தன. வான் சேர்ந்த ஆத்மாக்களின் ஆசையோடும் உங்கள் ஆதரவோடும் ஒரு மொட்டு பிரிய காத்திருக்கிறது. தெற்கு பார்த்திருக்கும் ஹபிபுல்லா சாலையில் இருந்து நாம் உள்ளே நுழைகிறோம். நனவான கனவின் முதற்படி ஏறி இச்சங்கத்தின் காலத்தினோட பயணிக்கிறோம். நீண்ட தாழ்வாரத்தின் சுவரில் சங்கத்தின் வரலாறும் வரலாற்று நாயகர்களும் சிற்பங்களாகவும் ஓவியங்களாகவும் புகைப்படங்களாகவும் நிரம்பி அருங்காட்சியகமாக விளங்குகிறது. திருமுனைகளிலும் சாலை சந்திப்புகளிலும் கோவில் மண்டபங்களிலும் நடந்து கொண்டிருந்த தமிழ் நிகழ்கலையை தவத்திரு சங்கரதாஸ் சுவாமிகள் நவீனத்திற்கு இழுத்து வந்து மேடை இலக்கணத்தை அறிமுகப்படுத்தினார். அன்னாரின் நினைவாக அவரின் பெயர் தாங்கி அதிநவீன ஒலி ஒளி தொழில்நுட்பங்களும் 1000 பேர் அமரக்கூடிய பிரத்யேக நாடக அரங்கிற்குள் பிரவேசிக்கிறோம். மறக்காமல் எளிய சிறிய நாடகங்கள் நடத்திட திறந்தவெளி சிற்றரங்கு. பல்நோக்கு அரங்கு. இங்கு கல்யாணம் நடத்தலாம், கருத்தரங்கு நடத்தலாம், கூட்டங்கள் நடத்தலாம். கூட்டங்களில் கலந்து கொள்வோர் அமர்ந்துள்ள உணவு கூடம் தேவைப்படும் போது இவ்விடம் பயிற்சி அரங்காகவும் மாறும். 150 பேர் அமர்ந்து கண்டுகளிக்க பிரிவியூ தியேட்டர், அதிநவீன திரையரங்கு, மாதந்தோறும் செயற்குழு கூட்டங்களும் விசேஷ கூட்டமும் நடத்தலாம். கட்டிடத்தின் வளர்ப்புறம் தென்னிந்திய நடிகர் சங்கத்தின் அலுவலகம். நடிகர்கள் உடல்நலம் பேண உடற்பயிற்சி கூடம். நடிப்பு பட்டறை நடத்திட பூப்பந்து விளையாட மரம்பாவிய தரையோடு கூடிய கூடம். கரைத்தாய் நடந்துரியும் நவீன கோயில், மகிழ்வு பொங்கும், கனவு சிறகடிக்கும், அன்பு பெருகும் தென்னிந்திய நடிகர் சங்க கட்டிடம்.
Site which has been going for the last 3-4 years. I'll quickly run through. There are so many interesting projects you can talk about. I can just flip through quickly. This is again to deal with nature, how you use. This is in Tanjavur for ex-central minister who has been my family friend. So we are trying to work with earth and whatever material which is available on site. Quickly to talk about 3 competition projects. We always keep doing competition projects. Whenever there is time available, you would always jump and do. So the first project is in Dubai. It's called the Iconic Mosque. The second one was a real project, a competition project in Amravati, which we won. And the third one was a cultural center in Senegal, West Africa. So these are some of the visuals. This is the final outcome of the mosque. This is the interior spaces, how it would turn out for a capacity of 7,000 to 10,000 people to pray. And this is for the Western Africa, the cultural center. We picked up elements from the region of this place called Kairalaru, and we picked up and came out with the final outcome, which will just reflect the regional values actually. So you are talking about how the culture of this building can actually be designed in a modern way using their own culture. And this is the project in Amravati, Andhra Pradesh. This was an open mall. It was a kind of government project competition invited by developers. So we won the project for the developer. Unfortunately, the project did not go through because the whole of city planning of Amravati has been abandoned after the elections. So this is about our teaching. So this is Ms. Belinda from, I'm sure most of the faculty would be knowing, at CARE School of Architecture. So it's a lot of interesting research we keep working with when we talk about teaching. We look at a lot of inspirations from nature, and that's what is one of our major area of interest. And this is one of my research which has been going on for the last 4 years. I'll just quickly show you some slides to understand a technique called the timbral vaulting coming from Spain. It is relevant in South Indian context because we are also using a lot of this thin tiles or thin bricks in Tamil Nadu traditionally. So a construction technique which gives you to explore amazing forms. So, and it apparently happened through the small workshops. Finally, one of the champion architects from South Africa who was a master in this technique. So we did this workshop in Auroville. So we were invited by people in Auroville to do this. And we are also doing large structures like 50, 60 feet span without steel and concrete, and just using brick and mortar to build these vast spans. This is pushing to the limit of how timbral vaulting can actually be helping us in terms of the construction technology. And these are some of the recent times projects using this vaulting technique. So you're kind of trying to push the project to the limit. And then you're also talking about every material. This is out of scrap wood and steel. So we are trying to do some installation in Bangalore and then this is like my own personal house, which is inspired by the temple called Sri Mushnam deep down Kumbahonam, further towards Kumbahonam, Tamil Nadu. And then you come back and then you start looking at how you need to see this stone as a material to build with. And you kind of keep on constantly trying to imagine how it can be built actually. So the search would continue. Thank you so much for listening to me patiently. It's normally a 1 hour, 20 minutes lecture, but I've just tried my best to condense it in the last 25 minutes or so. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Wonderful, amazing, mind-blowing presentation.
Thank you so much.
I'm sure you got our aspirants emotional and dreaming to the starting limits of the clouds that they would like to touch. I'm sure out there, everyone is like, sitting in awe and say, oh my, I'm going to go to this point. I wish I heard it.
I really wish it will happen. I'm sure everybody with the what you call the passion and the perseverance to do things, I'm sure we'll all be reaching there.
Oh, I'm sure you've already made that first seed of inspiration.
Thank you so much.
Amazing. Oh, wonderful, sir. Any questions that the students would like to ask you? Any questions? You can put it on chat that we can ask sir instantly. I'm sure even 1 hour is not enough to explain all this.
Yeah, it's not enough for him. The whole day you actually sit with him. You can speak about architecture, and he's a wonderful person who actually
Excuse me, sir.
actually.
Yes.
This is again Mukti. Sir, I saw in the slide there were some folding bricks folding. So can you explain me about them?
See, it's called the structure is called timbral vaulting. It is a very traditional technique coming from actually, like its roots are in Africa, but Spain kind of took this. Lots of architects from Spain showed interest. A very famous architect by name Antonio Gaudi, who was a master in this technique. He kind of popularized this technique, and Spain became very popular for vaulting. And from there, it traveled to America. So this is all like 700, 800-year-old technique. So we took this technique of construction, but when I started studying that, see, there is something called, when you understand structures, when you become an architect, you will understand what is structure, you will understand structures. So there is something called compression and tension. These are forces which will act in a building. So these are forces which will act in a building. Yeah. Normally, if you look at brick construction, if you look at walls and arches, we would always work in a construction which is compression, which means you hang a chain which we call it is a chain will hang in a catenary. That's the shape of the chain. When you inverse it, it becomes a stable structure. It becomes a very stable structure. So normally what the theory would allow you to do arches and walls in brick is something which is very geometric. So this is the only vaulting technique which will allow you to break the geometry actually. So when I read this, so this is the only vault which can handle both compression and tension. So we slowly started pushing it slowly by slowly. So, and then you realize that you don't need concrete when you understand the logic of this construction. And with the latest softwares which are available for you to analyze them, it was relatively easy for us to kind of envision structures like this. It's not only software. We also understood this technique putting brick by brick. I did not have the chance to go to Spain. So you never found time or money to travel so vast and all that. So you look at an idea, you become hands-on. You just start putting one brick over the other, learning the technique from what you are seeing. And then slowly you realize that you are able to probably build it. So that's the confidence which will come when you start touching the material. So, and then after 2 or 3 small mock-ups, we realized we also had failure, because in a long lecture, I always talk about failure. From school, you're out of school now. I think it is very important to value failure in your process. If you fail, it's okay, which means you are taking one step towards your learning. So a lot of steps towards failure will lead to a better understanding. So you need to lose in the beginning to kind of understand things in a better perspective. So that curves, whatever you see, is purely built out of bricks using this technique called the timbral vaulting.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
Sir, how do we even start off sketching these curves, sir? I mean, I've been fascinated by that Guggenheim Museum by Frank Gehry. And I was looking at your sites, the play architecture, and I've always wanted to sketch these foldings and especially the curved buildings. And but how do we even get those ideas? I mean, the foldings properly in a sketch, because it always looks off a little.
Okay. Have you gone through this process of drawing rigorously, like drawing buildings as of now, making sketches of existing buildings?
Yes, sir. I've made sketches.
See, there are different compositions to a sketching skill. Actually, there are some people who are really great artists who can draw what they see. Yeah. There are some people who will be able to draw a very average idea of what they are seeing and what they are actually envisioning. Like you see something, you can draw a very average way of drawing that building. And you also can actually imagine something and then draw to the same potential. And there is one, this called as the third category, who will be able to draw actually what they envision.
Yes.
So it's a process. So you need to start from your foundations. Once you join architecture, once you start taking up the course, everybody starts learning by seeing something, and then that's how the process starts. And then you constantly keep drawing. We also do a lot of models. As I showed you, we do physical models.
Yes.
So in a drawing, your proportions can go a little off, but when you make a model, you cannot make a model which is not in proportion. So you slowly start relating between all these different things, and then you kind of connect the dots. And probably with time, you will actually be able to connect to your mind and draw freely as to what you are thinking. And most of these, though we use a lot of software, the initial idea is thrown by my sketch. The sketch kind of comes out. It's like if you ask a musician how he was able to conceive a certain music, there are some people who are strong in theory who will be able to say line by line why he did that or whatever. But if you ask a genius, like sometimes you talk about somebody like Ilayaraja, somebody whom I keep referring to, he would just say it just flows spontaneously. Because that is the kind of vigor he has put in for the last 50 years in his work. And you don't have to wait for an idea to kind of convert that idea into an, like what he is thinking into, bring it into a sound or into reality. So it comes over a period of time. So that's how these geniuses actually, like they build the strength to conceive and draw or to create whatever they are doing.
Okay, sir.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah. Very, very interesting questions coming from all of you.
There's another person who's asking, what's the name of that curved brick wall technique again?
It's called vault, VAULT, timbrel, TAMBREL, not timbrel, not timber. It's called timbrel, TIMBREL, timbrel vaulting.
So thank you so much.
My
Let's
pleasure.
proceed to the. We would love to hear a lot from you. Whatever we heard.
We'll have him when these guys come to the first year of architecture. Yeah. Because it's a pleasure hearing him, and the pleasure of his working is really great. Actually, the way immaculately actually he execute the things with lots of experimentation, and like he keeps on practicing that experiments very well. So that's what you also have to learn from him. He actually is a great experimenter, and for that experiment he does lots of practice. The practice is very important. The way he says, he takes the basics, he takes it from the sketching to the modeling, then he actually goes digital, then he starts working that on site, then he experiment with materials and things like that. He's a great experimenter. I have seen lots of his work, and the way he actually expressed to the kids, especially to the students of architecture, is really amazing. Scud, it is a pleasure.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. My pleasure. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for inviting, and all the best to all of you. I'm sure we'll all be meeting at some point of time very soon. So it's a wonderful profession. Take it wholeheartedly and move forward. Thank you. Thank you so much.
So you can keep on be there with us, and
okay, sure, I'll do that. Yeah, sure.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
1 minute. So shall I share the screen now, sir?
Yes, please do that, ma'am. So in the morning, I was little fast, I was just running around. So now we are showing a video for you to understand it little better. I think could have played this video in the morning. It's about history of architecture, which we have started talking in the morning.
I will also share the next video, sir. Can you hear it, sir? Hello?
It's not shared, ma'am.
It was not shared. Okay, 1 minute. So just give me a minute.
Yeah, stop that sharing and I think you can do it.
Yeah, I'll do that.
Ever wondered why go to an architect or what is history of architecture? The humans needed a shelter against the wilderness. Caved in or dug out to only build walls with no openings and densely packed like anthills. They feared the death and hence to live longer, they built monuments for their loved ones. This was the age of architecture for need. Rivers nourished life and agriculture and hence communities thrived along their banks. Here, the lack of wood was replaced by abundance of clay and limestone, exploring the structures of height and permanence. The pyramids still standing the test of time. Around the same time, many civilizations emerged and began to prosper. The Mediterranean Sea helped exchange trade and culture among such civilizations. It was now the age of war and power. Architecture now defined authority, which the Greeks showed it through their pillars and structures. Parthenon was built. The Romans took over, showing the world how to span between those two pillars. Arches, walls and domes introduced a new vocabulary into architecture. Parallelly, there were other civilizations working on another dimension, bringing in variety. India and China brimmed with hope. This was the age of development. By the beginning of the new millennium, Roman Empire was expanding towards the east, embracing new cultures. Interlocking different forms of cubes and spheres into unity would soon define the architecture of the next generation. Expansive empires required more guarding of their ownership. Sturdier walls, semicircular arches, flag-hoisting peaks defined Romanesque. To reach out to more people through religion, stories were told on stained glass and sculptures on walls. Gothic brought in public art. This art was now used in reviving the elements of Greek and Roman architecture. Renaissance was the age of awakening, putting emphasis on symmetry and pattern. Pointed verticals, four-centered arches, wittiness, emphasis on aesthetics stepped in through Tudor. This also led to the end of medieval architecture, giving way to new era of style and opulence. Art was now overused and pompous. It was only during the Art Deco that an eclectic style of combining traditional craft motifs to a machine-age imagery happened and led to a new revolution of questioning the traditional patterns and their functionality. Form now followed a function, putting emphasis on minimalism and driving a soul into today's modern architecture.
Some of the people have asked me, like in the morning there was a question about Rashtrapati Bhavan being, what kind of an architecture is actually Rashtrapati Bhavan is. It's a little confusing stuff actually. It is actually a neoclassical style. Yes, of course. For that answer, there is a classical style which the answer was there. That's neoclassical style, the Palladian kind of idea. And but there are lots of elements which are from Mughal architecture, like the Indo-Saracenic revival architecture, and they have the chajjas, and they have this the Sanchi Stupa, which is actually on top of it. So you cannot call that as a, you know, real Palladian neoclassical architecture and an Indo-Saracenic architecture. It's a combination of all these things. Okay, it's a combination of Mughals, and it's a Indo-Saracenic revival architecture. So I think Anita man also can throw some light on it actually, because yeah, she's an expert in history of architecture, and of course this is actually, that is the reason why we are little. It's actually a combination of everything. Because if you say like if I go to Victoria Memorial at Calcutta, which we actually, so we will call it very easily, it is a neoclassical architecture. It's very easy to actually call it. But when it comes to this special architectural feature of our own Rashtrapati Bhavan, then you have the combination. There are chajjas there. You have that beautiful Sanchi Stupa on top. So Edwin actually has done lots of.
It was a mix of Art Deco and.
Yeah, it's Art Deco. Inside you can actually see lots of Baroque architecture. Baroque, you know, elements are actually present there, and Art Deco is actually being copied there. So it's a combination of all these things. I don't know how to answer that question, because the question's answer was only classical. You know, classic means it is a, you know what is classics. Classics, as Sendil Kumar does also was talking about classic. You know, he was talking about classic in his presentation. So classic means it's like, you know, those maestro kind of a thing which has got that perfection. You know, I don't think Edwin Lytton actually have that perfection in that Rashtrapati Bhavan. So neoclassical architecture, Indo-Saracenic revival architecture, Baroque, Art Deco, Indian architecture, and of course the sandstone is used very widely, red sandstone which is used very widely. So it's all like a Mughal architectural combination. So you can call it of everything. The answer where that was, you know, it's only classical architecture was there. So a person who actually asked that question will have to answer that question. Am I right? Is cut in that sense? Cut your thing. Yeah, it's muted. Yes. Yeah. And a person who actually, you know, yes.
Yes, absolutely. I think that was a period when India was going through a lot of post. We were coming out of colonies and all that. No, like we were coming out of like all these like we were getting independence, and things were constantly evolving. So there was nothing like a singular style which we had.
Yes, actually, Jawaharlal Nehru was so much in awe with all that he saw abroad. One of the instructions he gave Le Corbusier was, do not.
No, sir, ma'am, ma'am, they are talking about this Rashtrapati Bhavan.
Okay. Oh, that's
Rashtrapati Bhavan. Yeah. It's a Rashtrapati Bhavan there. They're talking about the Viceroy building actually. Yeah, Luytens actually they're talking about. So Luyten is himself is actually like, he has mixed so many things in his architecture, because he saw like, you know, the entire Capitol complex was designed copying Washington DC, and, you know, like bringing Paris also along with that. We actually take the entire Capitol complex was designed, but end of the day it was not working out very well, because the British were also going off, and there were lots of things which is like, you know, you can see that King Edward, if I am not wrong, the Rajpath, it is King Edward's small little chajja frame. King Edward was kept actually. They wanted to keep Mahatma Gandhi statue there. I think Bimal Bhai Patel has come live. I was actually moderating him in the celebrity talk of SRM. So you can hear that YouTube video. In that video, we are talking about this Central Vista, which is planned right now in Delhi. So he was talking about how inefficient the entire structure is actually built. In the morning also in History of Architecture, we were talking about this component of understanding what exactly is all about, you know. It's very important. Sir was talking about, Dean sir was talking about Ravana and Rama. You have to identify lots of things as an architect. In Central Vista also, there are lots of problems which are not actually, you know, like which are not of components of Indian architecture. Maybe Lytton actually, you know, really tried a lot in that entire structure in the Capitol complex itself. So maybe the new central vista, which is designed by an Indian now, Bimal Bhai Patel, maybe it actually comes out very well, and it actually occupies. If you go to the North Block and South Block, if anyone, I was there in Delhi for a long time, and I used to visit those places. The North Block and South Block, they look beautiful inside, outside. When you go inside, you will see these people are actually really, the spaces are really, because lots of ministries have come now. So they are not able to accommodate those ministries in that North and South blocks. So it's a huge topic to talk. But as far as Rashtrapati Bhavan is concerned, I don't think it is sticking to one kind of an architectural element. So that is the answer. Somebody who has asked, who is that? Is it satisfying answer? Sri Priya, I think. Somebody. Sanya. Yeah, Sanya, it is satisfying, Sanya. Sanya is there. Architect's daughter, she is actually thinking. Huh? Sanya is there? Sanya is actually sent a message. Yes, sir. Thank you so much.
Yes,
okay,
sir, I'm there. Thank you.
Is it all right, Sanya?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Somehow I actually managed the answer. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Next, any questions in history of architecture? Please carry on. And I think we are running out of time.
Yes,
we can go ahead.
The moderators to introduce themselves and take the show forward. Can we have Pranita?
Yes, good evening, ma'am. This is Pranita. Good evening, sir, and all my friends. I'm here to present. Can I start presenting, sir?
Yes, thank you, Pranita. You're going to do a wonderful presentation, I know, and you're going to rock. Please do that.
Thank you, sir. I'm going to start presenting about, I have been to a trip just in 6 months ago to Karnataka, where I've seen some beautiful places, which I want to share its architecture. So this is, so let's take a base town is Udupi. Let's talk in and around Udupi. Okay. So I read this quote somewhere which attracted me really. You can't really say what is really beautiful about a place, but the image of the place will remain vividly with you. I believe in that. Whenever I think of Udupi or the places around it, it is so pleasant and I feel very good, and that would happen. Udupi is a small town in Karnataka which has a vibrant architecture and a lot of diverse natures, and it has coffee plantations, Western Ghats with a lot of culture. And here, so the 4 more topics which I'm going to tell in the architecture which I was so attracted to was Krishna Temple, Murugdeshwar, Belur and Halebeedu. Okay, so there's little to tell about Krishna Temple and Murugdeshwar, but Belur and Halebeedu has a vast architecture which cannot just be discussed in a very short while. So this is Krishna Temple. It is a typical Dravidian architecture built in 13th century. This is the Gopura in the beginning, and when you enter the temple complex, the positive vibrations there just make you soothe. And these are the Gopurams, and this is a small lake in which the monks or the saints take a holy dip, and this is a Vrata. This is typical Dravidian architecture. As Sir has said in the morning, the Dravidian architecture has a very good sense in, of how human beings have been carved. You can see here. If I'm not wrong, Raja sir.
Yes, Pranita. Pranita, you can put on your video also. We can see you, and Sir,
I'm sorry, my webcam isn't working.
No problem. Please carry on. Yes, tell me, what did you ask me?
Yeah, like the Dravidian architecture, sir.
Yes,
as
yes,
you
the
said.
Gopura, yes.
Yeah.
Gopura, yes, great.
So the next is Murugdeshwar. This is a 20-storied Gopura, basically. It is a blend of modern and traditional architecture.
Yes.
It is built by Kashinath and on the Kanduka hill of Karnataka. Okay, it is the second largest statue of Lord Shiva. It is 123 feet tall, built over in 2 years. Don't you think that's, I'm sorry, don't you think that's a very short time finishing this big statue just in 2 years?
Yes, it is.
Yeah. And seeing this scene in the morning during the sunrise is the eye feast, I feel. Because the sun rays fall on the feet of Lord Shiva, where you can see the beauty of nature in and around. And here you can have a view going on to the 17th floor in a lift. You can see the whole beach surrounding this scene. And now comes Glories of Vellore, the best part of the trip, what I felt. Okay. This Vellore is
you qualify for an architect.
Thank you, sir. Hoysala architecture. Basically, this Hoysala architecture is said to be a combination of North Indian, that's the Nagara style, and the South Indian, that's the Dravida temple architecture. This is a unique architecture property is known as Vera style of architecture, which includes star-shaped temple platforms, fine increment carvings on the outer walls, beautifully decorated ceilings, and netted walls are some of its highlights. Believe that there are more than 90 temples built in this form of architecture. And do you know who was the architect for this? The chief architect for all of these temples is architect Jakhanachari. Using simple special soapstone, this places are built. And the soapstone is very much available in Karnataka, in few of the districts. So most probably they have used it because of it. There's a lot of occurrence all over. Okay. The entire temple, what you see, was constructed by a stone interlocking joint system. Don't you feel amazed by it? When we just hear about it, it's something very different.
It's amazing. Always the South Indian temples are actually having this interlocking system. It's really amazing. Yes.
Yeah. Stone interlock. Without using cement-like materials, this place was built. And you can dismantle it and rebuild it anytime. That's an interesting fact about the temples. Okay, so there, I would like to show some of the most capturing ones. Sorry, the few of the pictures are taken by me, and others I Googled them because I don't have them. This is the Garuda Deva, a stone carving of the Vahana of Vishnu, probably set with a gopura behind the entrance. This is the Rajalanchana, the royal emblem of Hoysala. And this is carved in a single stone. This is the Mahadwara. Dwara is an entrance. So this is recognized as the Mahadwara, which means it's immortal. Okay, noble court of King Vishnuvardhana. This shows some of his ministers around, and all of the carvings are single stone. Isn't it very, very different?
It is. Because the intricate patterns are really beautiful.
Yeah.
Yes.
This is a unique style of Hoysala. About 38 bracket figures are there. And they are mostly taken up from Queen Shakuntala of Hoysala. And she was the soul behind the preparation of carving these beautiful ladies. Each resemble her moods and her mood swings. Let's take this. This is Dharpana Sundari, which means a lady who's been provoked. The lady who's been getting ready for her meal or something. This is a provoked lady. A monkey is disturbed.
Add on that Dharpana Sundari. Actually, all these images had a lot of philosophical meanings. Even in that, she's looking at the mirror. She's looking at herself. The actual philosophical significance is, before you enter the temple, look inside you.
Yeah, thank you for that, ma'am.
There are many, all those things, though it looks simple, but they had tried to tell value in every sculpture. We have lost a lot of the details, but then it's awesome.
Thank you for that, ma'am.
Continue.
And this is Koti Kupite, which means that there's a monkey provoking the lady. And the lady is trying to hit the monkey with a twig in her hand. Okay, so It shows the mischief of the monkey.
Shall I tell you what that is?
Yes, ma'am.
We will be so distracted when we are going to God. Our mind is like a monkey.
Yeah.
Krishna often says that, right?
Yes, ma'am.
That is that.
Thank you, ma'am. This is Bhasmeswara Mohini. When Vishnu took up a character or a role to to kill the Bhasmeswara, who was Bhasmasura, who was a real headache cause, just in normal terms. So this is Bhasmeswara Mohini. And this is inside. There are about 38 bracket figures outside the structure, and there are about 4 inside the temple. Okay, and this is I'm sorry. And this is Natyarani, the Shantala queen, dancing in the temple, and they are about 48 inner pillars carved in unique styles. And among them, these 2 pillars are very famous. One is Mohini pillar, which resembles this, and going deep into the sculpture, it's very enlightening and you feel very good. You feel it's soulful. And then this is a Narsimha pillar. Due to some actual problems, it stopped rotating now. But at a point in a period, it used to rotate. That's what people tell. And these are some sculptures, carvings, and there's a fun fact. You know, the hairstyles we make now, especially the girls, the ponytails, the short haircuts or the bob cuts, they're almost all of them carved in these regions, and you can see them. They're among like 150 haircuts, which really mesmerize you. It's around 13th century, which this area was built. So think. Okay, now coming to Hoysaleshwara Temple, Halebeedu. This is a place where Lord Shiva is placed, and it has like all of these sculptures which are most prominent among them. This is Ganesha. This is Hoysaleshwara, who's worshipped there. This is a Trimurti Sangamam, which means Brahma, Vishnu, and Maheshwara in a carving. This is a Nandi. There are 2 Nandis, or Nandi is known as the vehicle or Vahana of Lord Shiva. So there are 2 Nandis there, and this is the second largest among the Nandis in the whole world. Krishna fighting with Indra. This carving is one of the best masterpieces you can ever see. And these are few more carvings. It's like Ravana lifting the Kailasha, Mount Kailasha. And this is, these are some, this is like, there are some carvings all around with a lot of meaning. When we start discussing and start studying, you cannot even stop. And it's so mesmerizing. And this is the ceiling of the temple. And these are some of the carvings. And some more wonders of Udupi, I would like to tell. This is in a cafe where they built. Look at the ideology. They used a ring, a flower pot to make a necklace, earring, rings. And this is one of the temples. This is a hanging bridge in Udupi. And you see this, this is a place where you have sea towards your left and a river towards your right. You go in between. The road is in between. So there's Silavati river towards your right and the Arabian Sea towards your west. And Udupi is a place where the Karnataka, a place to visit at least once, because it gives you the hospitality there. Let it be the cuisine, let it be the architecture that really mesmerizes you. Hope you all like this presentation, and thank you.
Yeah, we really liked your presentation, Pranita, and it is time for me to actually quit talking about history of architecture and leave it to you, because you have done a wonderful job. And I think, you know, another 5 years of a time, I should take a retirement from teaching and leave it to people who are really efficient and wonderfully doing the job. And the way you have expressed your thoughts through your buildings and the way you have narrated the story of the temple is really amazing. And I'm seeing a bright future for architects and architecture, because I think we should all get retired and we leave it to Scud and all the people who are there here. Okay, the youngsters and the...
Agreed, 100%.
I agree with that. I think I'm so happy, you know, like I was always talking about people the people actually talk to me as that the kids are not actually, grasping anything, and they are not talking about creative things. They are not, but you are all amazing, and I had a wonderful time. I'm actually awesome, like 8 days of you with you. I have spent 8 days, but I have learned a lot more than what I have given it to you. I feel. Thank you so much, Pranita. I don't know what, I don't have any words. The way your words are so beautiful, and the way you are expressing is also so beautiful.
I was a bit nervous, sir, and I just got out of words.
It is out of, in nervousness, you actually speak like that, huh? That is really good to hear. And I'm sure when you, I bless you, and God bless you, my child. Thank you so much. And I request now Balashri Abhirami to actually go ahead and kindly present her presentation.
Thank you, sir. Good evening, all. This is a drawing based on Future India. I'm Balashri Abhirami. I have a few explanations behind this drawing. First is, poet Bharatiya wrote poems based on women rights in our society. So these colors in the background shows the positive India he wanted to see. But in contrast to it, his expression in his face with anger and sadness together shows that India is not what he wanted to be. It's like you don't have complete freedom for women to, to put on the voices in society. So this is a canvas art done with acrylic paint. Yes, sir. Hello.
You go ahead.
Go ahead.
Okay, next is abstract art. What I wanted to do is I wanted to make it a mixture of Ganesha as well as a bird. I just tried my best. When you see it from your left hand side, you feel Ganesha sitting like a trunk of Ganesha, and with modern modern abstract arts. And when you see it from the right hand side, you feel as it a bird. Do you feel it?
Hello? Yes, I feel it. Yeah, I really feel it.
Yeah,
what do you feel it?
I just wanted to make that. So it's an abstract art. And next one is a pencil sketch. It's a normal pencil sketch. When you see it in room light, like,
oh my God,
when you see it with normal room light, you just see it as normal pencil sketch. But when you see it under golden light or yellow light, you feel a majestic look towards the drawing. So what I felt was like lighting is more important to enhance the feel of anything. So that's what I felt in this.
Fantastic. Excellent.
Chanceless man. Chanceless man.
I'm sure Senthil Kumar sir is also enjoying all this.
Yeah. I think it's rocking. Like, Balashri, that's all?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, thank you.
I just took free of my drawing.
No problem. Balashri, it is a pleasure always, hearing you. Thank you so much. The line was amazing. It's a line. Yeah, it was amazing. Snega Manivannan says the line was amazing. I request all of you to come forward and, tomorrow's session and day after tomorrow's session, you also moderate and make sure that, you express yourself also. I have some wonderful people here. I'm so happy that, you all are right. Please write your written examination and your interviews very well. Okay. I request all of you to write it very well. Okay. Next week.
To include invite the guest speakers.
I request Pranita and Balashri Abhirami to invite the guest speakers of the day.
Yes, sir. First, we have Professor Jiva Chandana. She is an architect and professor. She has specialized in landscape architecture and planning in Anna University. She did her UG from Midas. During her master's degree, she went abroad for a semester in planning and sustainability and from the University of Tours, France. And she has been a university rank holder in both her UG and PG courses. And she topped Stanson Architecture Entrance Exam 2017. She has been practicing as architecture and working as a landscape consultant for firms. She has worked with C.R. Narayana Rao, architects, and Transform Design before she started her journey as an academician. Currently, she was previously worked with Crescent School of Architecture and Design, and she has been working with SET since last semester. I'm very glad to welcome her. Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you, Pranita. Good evening, everyone. It gives me an immense pleasure to seeing you all today. I'm very excited that you've chosen architecture over other courses. Architecture is a multidisciplinary course. Studying architecture opens a way to other creative courses like photography, journalism and graphic designing, and product designing, and many more. I am a first generation architect in my family. I was very fond of architecture. I love decorating my rooms, designing. I was good at sketching and crafts. So when it came to choosing my career, my family let me follow my passion. So once you join architecture, every day is a unique experience. And for me also, it was very unique because as I told you before, I am a first generation architect. Architecture is a very comfortable course because it's based on creativity. So every creative design you do will give you a fulfillment and satisfaction once you complete it. And you get a lot of exposure once you start doing architecture. It makes you as a better person, and you get a holistic experience as such once you complete the degree. And as you start designing for people, society, considering the issues existing and the ways to solve it and all, it gives you utmost happiness at the end of it and end of the procedure. And architecture changes the way you look at the world. You'll always want it to make it a better place to live. And also, once you study architecture, you get a chance to travel around the world, experience culture, tradition, people, and also the practices there. So you graduate, you get groomed as a person as such. So choosing SRM School of Architecture and Interior Design, you will take a step closer to achieving your goals. At SRM, you have architecture experts teaching and guiding you with all your designs, and you have a good faculty-student ratio. SRM gives you opportunity to travel abroad, do a semester in well-renowned international universities for your semester exchange, as a part of your semester exchange, or you can also do your internship abroad. We have workshops, guest lectures, seminars by national and international experts, so which gives you think out of the box and design out of the box. And also you have educational visits, NASA, National Cultural Event for Architects. And you have other culturals and other programs where you can exhibit your creativity. And SRM is one of its kind university which has established itself in huge success in online platform. As you would have seen the talk series which was conducted by SRM. So which was conducted with various national and international celebrity speakers. SRM strives to bring the best of students. So I welcome you all into this profession, and I'm looking forward to see you at SRM. All the very best for your architecture journey. Thank you.
Balashri?
Sir?
Yeah, Balashri, yeah. Carry on. Introduce the next speaker.
I just spoke right now, sir.
Okay, I request Pranita to actually introduce the next speaker.
Thank you. I take immense pleasure to introduce Karthik K.A. Sir, Assistant Professor, Principal Architect at Four Spaces, Chennai. He did his master's in building management, and his research interests are urban policies and its impact towards the society. Sir, hope you have a great time sharing your message to us.
Hello all. I'm sorry I cannot come on video and drive to my native with my mom. Online. Hello, sir. Hello. Hello.
Sir, I can hear you. I can hear you. Please speak.
Sorry, ma'am. Yeah, ma'am. Can I talk this or you want me to come on video?
You can come on video, sir. Is it possible? How's your bandwidth?
Sorry, I think I have a
no problem, sir. You can speak, sir. You can speak, sir.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, sir. Kindly speak, sir. You give your word, sir, please.
Can you hear me, ma'am? Hello?
Yes, we can hear you, sir.
Hello.
Hello, we can hear you, sir. Hello, Karthik, sir.
I think. Yes, ma'am. I think we'll hear it from Karthik sir when we actually find him, and we'll post you the videos. I think Karthik sir
I
is
think
not.
we are running very late today.
Yes, yes. Thank you so much. And Anita ma'am, please.
Yes, sir.
Concluding
thank you, Senthil Kumar, sir, for having spent your very precious time with us and for the aspiring young architects.
Hello, ma'am. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, sir.
Yeah, I'm so sorry for the technical glitches. Just give me a second. I'll just make myself comfortable.
Even if you can't,
sir, you can. Yeah.
Please, you can speak. No problem.
Please speak, sir.
Yes. Hello, all. Can you hear me now?
Yes. Yes, we can hear you, sir.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am. Hi, everyone, all the young budding architects or people who are going to join architecture. I'm really happy to have you all on the SRM forum. And as Jeeva Chandra ma'am clearly said that this is a course where like you live with your heart. Your heart says a lot rather than your brain. You love to do things. You will love. See, whatever you do, we never get satisfied with whatever we do. But yes, but it gives you a heart, or it gives you a love to do that. Whatever you have represented, it will have so much of your heart in it rather than just your brain. You might think a lot, but it comes out of a passion and it comes out of a love, which is in final output it would be. So this is a course of something like that. And as far as SRM is concerned, I have two things to say because which I love to be a part of SRM. That the one thing which I'm coordinating with those two things. One is the academic planner or the syllabus that is being framed for you all. See, now the world is going at a rate that we cannot even think of what speed it is growing. So the syllabus is framed to that rate of speed what has to be given to you as a best. We have people who are professionally at a top level or all around the world, say right from practicing architect to a academician, all the top architects are working on SRM syllabus, and they make to a point very sure that whatever is being updated or whatever is being onto the trend to the education is being given to the students of SRM. And that is one of the things that keeps the 26 years of SRM at the top positions in all the schools. And moreover, here people, and I don't know whether you know about practical training in architecture, where all the architects or the fellow student architects are being placed before you get a degree. Okay. What is so special here in this internship is, see, architecture in SRM or the alumni connect in SRM is so strong that it has 26 strong years of alumni connect with the institution. People are bound to come to SRM as a visiting faculty or an adjunct faculty reviewer to guide the students. And when they see the students work, they feel that they want those students to join their firm to present a better society. So this is how SRM is being connected, and it gives you a life before you finish a degree. Okay. So you're all being like taken by the professionals or the top architects who come to college for just reviewing your sheets. They take them in their firm, and that is one of the best thing, because giving 100. See, every year there are 100 students in SRM who are going for internship. You think for 100 students finding an office, you never know how tough it is. But when you are being taken during your studies, that is again I don't know. It is a task that not every college can achieve it. Only in SRM you can do that. And moreover, the people we work here, 40 to more than 50% of the people are practicing as well as teaching. Though they are full-time teaching, they love their job, they love their passion to design buildings, and they have their own firms, as I have my own. Though I am a very young architect, still I just wanted to pursue my passion. I started my own office. After all my teaching hours, I do sit in my office, work all day and night, because I love to do it. You have n number of people in SRM this way. So the quality of education that we provide, you never know. See, we deal with clients, we deal with everything that we see, we try to combine and give it to all the students who come to SRM. And I think SRM is a great place to learn. I wish to see you all very soon. I'm very, I don't know, I feel very happy to talk in this forum this evening. This is a wonderful evening I have got. Thank you, Anita ma'am and Rajesh for giving me this opportunity. My mom is hearing everything. I just feel...
It's a pleasure, sir. It's a pleasure hearing you. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for wonderful words.
Yes. So thank you, Pranita and Balashri. You are awesome. The other two people, the next two people, kindly send your request to Kavita ma'am. And
so actually, I just wanted to, who is going to be the next, tomorrow's moderator? Come on, guys, raise your hand immediately.
Actually, this one asked whether
Srishti, will you do it?
Wants another chance.
But we'll give a new chance to new people, actually. Okay. We'll see Nega, Keetana, Ishika, Nadira, Malvika, Mansi, Sanjeev.
Adiraj,
come on, man. I think when we will actually get this, kids, we are afraid. Tomorrow's world will be full of girls architecture. No, like they're all good. Good. Adiraj, tomorrow we'll do. Yes. Okay, he's doing tomorrow. I think he hands up. And Abba, we have already done it. Abba, Ishika. No, Keetana, Nega. Okay. Anyway, you just decide and tell me. And am I there? Hello?
Yes, sir. Yeah, you're there.
Thank you so much for a wonderful session, ma'am. Please.
Yes. We run 20 minutes delayed, but that was fine. Thank you, Sandil Kumar sir. We should close the session for today and meet tomorrow at 9 o'clock.
My pleasure. Thank you being with all of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir.
Bye.